Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to be joined by Danny. Danny, we're reacting here to the news that has just been confirmed that Naoya Inoue is back defending all of his super bantamweight titles on Christmas Eve, a Christmas treat for boxing fans, as he's taking on Sam Goodman, as I said, in the Ariake Arena, Tokyo, where we often see Naoya Inoue fight now. Christmas Eve, 24th, defending all of his belts once again. Your initial thoughts and reaction to the news that we've just seen announced?
Looking forward to it, mate. Just another excuse, not that I need one, to avoid my family during Christmas. So that'll be absolutely fantastic. Yeah. In terms of the main event, it's always exciting to a point when Naoya Inoue is fighting. I'm more looking forward potentially to seeing what sort of undercard is announced because we normally see very deep undercards on these Japanese shows. So in terms of the main event, look, I think it's probably a pretty significant step up from TJ Dehaney with respect to I thought did give a good account of himself, but you would say there's still quite a few levels between Sam Goodman and Naoya Inoue, but it's an interesting fight. It's certainly one of the best names available at 122 pounds for Naoya Inoue, so looking forward to it 100%.
Yeah, me too, mate. I think regardless of who's in the opposite corner, you've got to look at Inoue and think that, he could be fighting you or I, and people would tune in just to see him try and get another, flesh up another knockout on his record, mate, because he's just that exciting, that talented, he's that good, whether or not you have him at number one, he's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world, without any shadow of a doubt. Anyone that says he isn't is talking nonsense. He's top three at least. Widely regarded as probably the best by quite a few fans. I agree with you, mate. I think in terms of opponent, it is a step up from TJ Dehaney. I am somewhat disappointed it's not Akhmadaliev. I think that's a fight that I've has kind of been spoken about a lot recently. One that I wanted to see, but whether or not that happens in early 2025 or if Inoue maybe waves goodbye to the super bantamweight division remains to be seen. But yeah, I think outside of the people, like, he's beaten everybody else basically, bar Goodman and Akhmadaliev. So it was going to be one of those two. It is Goodman, undefeated fighter, up near, arguably, yeah, as I mentioned, probably the best alongside Akhmadaliev, who Inoue hasn't already fought and beat. So yeah, it makes sense, mate. We can't sit here and complain about the opponent really. One thing, and I did see is interesting. I'm sure you've been seeing it as well on social media. Was a photo of Inoue and Ricky El Sheikh doing the round. So yeah, I wonder whether it seems that he'll probably have a bit of a maybe an involvement on Christmas Eve. So yeah, I'll be interested to see the undercard as well. As you mentioned, so many stacked undercards we've seen for recent Inoue fights, and hopefully December 24th, should I say, is another one. Don't want to go. Don't want to look beyond Sam Goodman to a certain degree, but I also do because I think 99% of people will expect Inoue to win this and probably even win via stoppage. Before we come to predictions and kind of our initial predictions 2 months out, ahead of the fight, what do you what do you think? Say he wins this, Danny, right? Anyway, what does you want 2025 to look like for him? Kind of two answers. If you could give me two answers to that, what do you want it to look like him, and what do you think it'll look like, or is it similar?
It actually is quite similar, which is obviously great. There's two fights I would like to see Inoue have before moving up to featherweight, and I would rather him have those two fights than sort of skip them and move up to featherweight, if that makes sense. And that would be one you just mentioned, Akhmed Aliev, and the other would be Jinto Nakatani. Now, I saw on Twitter, I'm not sure the exact source, but Michael Benson shared it, and he normally only shares them if they're a somewhat credible source. And he shared that there were early talks about a fight between Junto Nakatani and Naoya Inoue for 2025, which would be a fantastic fight. Obviously, two pound for pound stars. Probably Nakatani, most people would have at the sort of fringes of their top 10. That said, I would almost like to see the Ahmed Aliev fight first, provided he does get past Goodman, then you can really rubber stamp the 122 pounds division like he has cleaned it out if he beats those two. And then it sets up the Nakatani fight for even bigger in later 2025. Say if Nakatani picks up another belt or two at 118 pounds, which is obviously all four champions are Japanese. So yeah, those are the two fights I would love for him in 2025. And then there's going to be the talk of the move up to featherweight, which I'm not maybe as keen on as some people because I think when you get fighters like Inoue, um, Lomachenko was another one. People just almost want to see them move up until they get beat.
Yeah.
Like, are we going to see this fella going up to, welterweight to fight someone? But it is inevitable. But in terms of the two fights, I would like to see, provided he does get past Sam Goodman, who's a decent fighter in his own right. I've not watched a great deal of him. I watched a bit of the TJ Dehenna fight before this. He's got pretty good footwork, pretty fast hand, well-schooled boxer, maybe enough give Naoya something to think about for a few rounds. But I expect, as you say, to get past them, stop them, and Akhmadaliev and Nakatani is who I want to see next.
Yeah, that's an interesting one for me, mate, I think. A lot of boxing fans are kind of want to see him maybe win this and then go straight up to featherweight. I completely see where you're coming from. I think I wouldn't mind seeing him another one or two after this, still at 122. That Nakatani one's the one, really. Let's be honest, isn't it? It's the one that you look at and think there's so much jeopardy in that fight. You know, you would get a lot of people even backing Nakatani probably to be the first man to beat Inoue. And yeah, you couldn't say with any confidence. Well, not 100% confidence anyway that you're Inoue beat Nakatani. I'm not so sure. He might well do. But yeah, it's a close fight. It's a really, really, really good fight, and obviously, an all Japanese fight as well. Without being a complete expert in boxing history and folklore way back in the years from Japan, I'd say that would be probably the biggest all Japanese fight of all time. Please let us know in the comments if we're wrong, but
I'm not going
um,
to correct you on it, mate.
yeah, yeah, not obviously we're not experts, but I mean that would be incredible. As you mentioned, there's every belt in the bantamweight division is held by a Japanese fighter. If Nakatani can get another one or two, I think it's fair to say he probably is viewed as the number one. If he's to add another one or two, then as you mentioned, in the meantime, maybe Inoue fights Goodman and then perhaps fights Akhmadaliev again. Then the Junto Nakatani fight in summer or late 2025 is, it would be incredible. I do want to see him move up to featherweight. I think beyond featherweight would be my limit with Inoue.
Yeah,
I
yeah, I
wouldn't
agree.
want to see him, when you're getting up to the super feathers, you kind of you're like, nah, that like the size difference would just be ridiculous. I mean, even at featherweight, you look at some of the featherweight champions, like obviously Ray Vargas is what, 6 foot? That Espinoza is absolutely huge as well. Could you imagine a Inoue against Espinoza? Like that would be ridiculous. So yeah, I think featherweight would be the limit for me with Inoue, but I have changed my mind on it somewhat. I would rather see the Nakatani one now. I kind of need to see that fight. So yeah, just before we finish up, mate, I'm going to ask you for an early prediction. Do you believe Sam Goodman could upset the apple cart here, or do you think Naoya Inoue wins? Tell me who wins and how.
Obviously, Goodman, you have to say, is massively up against it. I don't think it'll be a 2, 3 round blowout or anything like that. I could see the fight going into the second half, potentially sort of set last quarter. But ultimately, I think Naoya, once he gets his time and once he gets Goodman going backwards, I think that's sort of the beginning of the end. And I would say that's probably going to happen. I'll say 8, 9 rounds.
Yeah, see, I agree with the stoppage, I think. But I also agree in kind of the timing wise because I mean I suppose you could say it's been a while since we've seen Inoue blow anyone out really early.
Yeah.
Um, but watching him, he does take his time now more. I think he kind of gives it a couple of rounds to figure out his opponent, sets traps, and then ultimately from the midway or maybe round four onwards, he does really look to take them apart. And I think he could do the same against Sam Goodman. To be honest with you, mate, I think Sam Goodman's up against it, as is anybody who's fighting Naoya Inoue in Tokyo. Do you know what I mean? Like, anyone that's fighting him there is going to be up against it, not just Sam Goodman. But yeah, I agree with you, mate. I agree with everything you said. Another stoppage win for Naoya Inoue. And yeah, hopefully 2025 is yet another massive year for Naoya Inoue. Guys, let us know in the comments what you think of this fight and what you want to see Naoya Inoue do going forward. As always, drop a like on the video, hit subscribe. There should be a wee icon in the corner for you to do that. And yeah, just stay tuned and check out the rest of the channel for all of your boxing needs under one roof. Danny, thanks very much for your time as always, mate, and I'll speak to you again soon.
No bother, mate. Thanks.